We are live.
We are live. I did see it, Joe. Thank you so much. But we are live for the UFC 299 Fight IQ podcast, where we will review every bit of a jam-packed 14-fight slate. With me, as always, my friends, colleagues, and fight analysts, it is Sun Tzu in this corner here. Joe, in my mind, and I'll kick it to you first, where we have been seeing a lot of subpar cards in the past. This is a nice pay-per-view card. I'm really in favor of it. How you feeling about it?
Oh, I love the card. I mean, I think from the prelims on up, I mean, you've got guys in the prelims that have been headliners on other cards. And also, I think this is a good card to make money. I mean, it was a play that I feel really comfortable with even after the fact, and that's weird when you lose money, but I actually made money because I bet Alex Perez, but I also hedged my Alex Perez play by betting Alex Perez plus 3.5, which is something that I've just kind of started getting into, is like using the points as a way, especially if I like a big favorite and I want to hedge it a little bit, I took the 3.5, and all he had to do was win one round, and he did. So I hit that plus 155 on Alex Perez, but I really liked Alex Perez. I don't think much of Mokiev. I never have. I think he's a hype train. He's got a lot of holes in his game. I loved Alex Perez at like plus 270, 80, plus 300. But I got to make some money on this fight card, or I'm going to have to really, really kick it back until 300.
Yeah, no, I certainly hear you. And in this corner, not only is this man not a burden, but feeling under the weather and braving it to be with us here tonight, we certainly appreciate it. Drake, how you doing, man? And how you feeling about this fight card?
I wish I was feeling better, but overall for the card, I love this card. I think this card's better than 300 at the moment. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. Should be jam-packed with all sorts of good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We were talking about how many dogs each of us like before we went on the air, and so there might be some spicy moments here as well. Before we get right into the action, let me just say, RotoWire 10-day free trial, www.rotowire.com/free, no credit card required. Check out my content, Drake's content, all that good stuff, www.rotowire.com/free. Okay, having said that, we are going to move right into the card, if it pleases everybody. First fight up, it is a Marina Moroz at 9,000, and this is on DraftKings, of course, taking on Joanne Wood at 7,200. The line on this fight, Marina Moroz minus 225, Joanne Wood plus 190. And I wrote up in my article that I love taking Joanne Wood at dog odds like this on DFS sites. She's high volume. She mixes in wrestling, and they're going to kind of stand in the center and trade a little bit. And so this should be a high volume fight all around. Moroz, I think, has the better footwork, so that could be an issue for Joanne Wood here. But 7,200 is too good not to take a shot, and I wouldn't really want to touch Moroz at 9,000. 14 fights. There's a lot to choose from here, but there's also a lot of high value guys to pay up for. So I like Joanne Wood to start this off. I'm going to have some of her because, her wins, they tend to be high scoring wins because of that high volume, because of the ability to wrestle. She put up 105 at 8,600 in her last fight. Her last over 100 score, 108 at 84. I can't see salaries beyond that point. Thank you very much, DraftKings. But the point is that she's never really that highly valued anymore. But I still think she's a skillful fighter. I still think she's worth a squeeze at 7,200. And so that's where I'm going. I'm going to kick us off fresh with a dog. And we will start off with Drake, I believe. Drake, how do you see the first fight here?
Yeah, when I was going through this, I really liked the striking between both of them, kind of how you mentioned right away that they'd be in the middle of the ring. And while I do agree with that, the striking will be close, but I think Moroz takes this to the ground, and I think she's light years ahead in grappling against Wood. So if she chooses or takes it down right away, I think Wood's going to be in a world of trouble.
Yeah, no, that definitely could be, and she does use her wrestling. It's not that she doesn't use it. I'm not that concerned that she will actively be going for it, but definitely is a possibility. Joe, how do you see the first fight here?
Yeah, the people's main event. This is a rematch.
That's not nice.
This is a rematch. Moroz armbarred Joanne Wood way back when they first fought. This is rumored to be Joanne Calderwood's. I'm sorry, Joanne Wood. I mean, how weird is it that your name is Calderwood, and then you go and you marry someone named Wood? So you really only have to drop the call. I wonder if she like whited out her license. Anyway, so this is the retirement fight from what I'm hearing of Joanne Wood. I don't have a ton of interest in this fight. I kind of see both of your points. I think if you're going to play it, you probably want to play the dog. But since we have 14 fights, that's been confirmed. I don't expect to have a lot of ownership here. I mean, Moroz at 9,000 is tough unless she simply just, unless Wood just simply doesn't show up. And then Wood can be competitive. I mean, she could throw volume, and she could actually get Moroz in the clinch. And if Moroz can't get her down, it could be a pretty long 3-round fight for Moroz. So I could see both sides. I'll probably have more of Wood than I will of Moroz, but I'm going to pick Moroz for the win.
All right. Moving right along here, it is Asu Almabaev at 9,500, taking on CJ Vergara at 6,700. Line on this fight, Almabaev is a very big favorite, minus 550, and the comeback on Vergara is plus 400. And it is a big number, but I really do like Almabaev. I really liked what he showed against Ode Osborne. I love, kind of actually reminds me of Mateusz Gamrot, the way he really goes for those single legs. And I really like his jiu-jitsu. It's locked down, it's positional, but he can be a submission grappler as well. And I think this is a really safe play, even if it's not, you know, the 110, 115 that you might need on a big card like this. I really think he's a cash play for sure. I really like him. I mean, Vergara is a good athletic fighter. The only time he's really faced a committed grappler was Tatsuro Taira, who submitted him also. So to me, that's really where this fight begins and ends. I'm going to be heavier on Almabaev in cash, certainly, but I will have some shares in GPPs just for a little bit of that first round submission upside. But yeah, the pick is absolutely Almabaev, and we're going to start with Joe first. How do you see the second fight here?
Yeah, so this is really strange. I mean, I don't know. I have to question the matchmaking here. I don't know that this is a step up. You know, I mean, CJ Vergara actually lost back in the day, 2021, to Osborne. You know, so I don't know. I don't understand why this fight was made. So yeah, I kind of think that the favorite is the right play. The only question is, are the points going to be there for DraftKings? You know, I think at 9.5K on this card, if he matches his last score, gets 2 takedowns, 5 minutes of control time, and scores 105 points in a decision, that's not going to cut it at 9.5K. Not on this slate, not with 2 5-round fights, not with a lot of upside in some of the other fights. So that's my question, you know, and that's probably why I'll be underowned in this fight. Now, watch him get a quick submission within the first 60 seconds. I don't necessarily see that happening, even though this is not, even though this is maybe a step down from Osborne. You know, Vergara is tough. I expect him to kind of be in it. So give me the favorite here, but very tentative DraftKings play.
Yeah, 14 fights can't really be as creative. I mean, I was thinking that first fight, if this was like an 11-fight card or something, I might get really silly and put those 2 fighters in a GPP lineup, but certainly can't do that with something like 14 fights. You do have to be a little wary, and I totally understand the price caution, but you know, the more I think about it, the more I think those takedowns are going to come, and I might have a little more about them in GPPs. But let's see what Drake has to say on the subject. Drake, do you like Almabaev a lot, a little bit, or not at all?
Or I love him. I don't think Vergara, aside from toughness, is that great of a fighter. You know, especially for a guy of this caliber. I think Almabaev just plows right through him, whether it be submission or knockout. I think he controls everything and just finishes it right there. First round, early second round.
Yeah, I agree. I do think this is a dominating fight. Every second that's going to tick away for those GPP players is not going to be fun. But I do think skill for skill, it is just a dominating fight. All right, the next fight up is a fun one. It's Robelis Despaigne taking on Josh Parisian. Despaigne coming in at 9,300. Josh Parisian coming in at 6,900. Line on this fight: Despaigne minus 400. Josh Parisian plus 300. And even though that's a big line, kind of expected it to be a little bigger just because of the hype surrounding and especially for DraftKings, like 9,300 is not that, extraordinary just based on what we've seen Despaigne do. Now, of course, very not great competition. We understand this, but if you don't know Despaigne, bronze medalist, kickboxer for Cuba, I believe. Just a really, really gargantuan frame, 6'7", 84. Somebody gave us a tongue stick out face. Two people, in fact. Thank you so much. I just need to mention that it's an 84-inch reach, 6'7", and basically the way his fights go is that his opponents can't touch him, and they basically run into his fist and he knocks him out, and I mean that literally. His last two fights have lasted a combined 7 seconds. Yes, you heard that right, 7 seconds. So, I think Josh Parisian is just way too slow. He's not that great at anything. It's going to be really hard to take down a 6'7" guy anyway, even if you were a good wrestler. And Josh Parisian is an adequate wrestler at best for heavyweight. So I really think this is your watch for the 60-second bonus, in my view. I think that Parisian just going to get run over here. We're talking to Drake about Despaigne before. I liken him to Johnny Walker, but with a legitimate combat sports background. You have this guy with a huge frame. He's athletic. And I think he's just going to run over this bottom tier competition, and then we can see what he does. And then when we can talk about fades when we see what he does to the upper level. But for right now, I just think you have to ride with him. And for 9,300, I think that's a great price. But let's see if I am overselling it or underselling it. Drake, how do you see Despaigne in his debut here?
I think you're underselling it. Load up everything on this guy. Even if they gave him multitude of other fighters, I think he'd have the same result here. The guy is already experienced in combat sports. You brought up his medal. He was a bronze medalist in Taekwondo. The guy knows how to fight. So the 4 fights that he had, they were against, kind of nobodies, but, it's not like Josh Parisian is really a somebody. So I fully expect him to flatline him in this one. I love this play.
Yeah, so do I. Joe, are you singing the same song, or are we hearing some different notes here?
No, I mean, essentially, maybe a little bit slower play. He has not only fought nobodies, he's fought guys with 0-0 records. I think the best match he had was a guy with a 1-0 record. If, and again, this is a big if Parisian can get him to the ground, he could be done. We don't know if this guy can do anything but strike. Now, I'm very interested in watching this fight. This guy is like 6'7". I mean, this guy could throw head kicks from one side of the octagon to the other. I mean, so this could be really interesting to watch. My only fear here is that if he doesn't get the quick knockout, this guy could, in the words of Cody Safick, could be the big time apple pie shitter. Because I don't think much of Parisian, right? But if this guy can't get his kicking game going, his Taekwondo going, I don't know what else in mixed martial arts he can actually do. I don't know, maybe out tough him. I don't know. So yes, I'm going to pick the plane. I'm going to go with the plane, but he's not like, if I have 100 lineups, I'm going to put him in 100 line. I'm not that confident. Like, I'm not that confident to play him across the board in all my lineups.
Yeah, I do think that whenever you have, and we should note, we're talking about 4 fights, and I think only one went over a minute. I think the other three are the third one I think was 53 seconds, and I think the first one was a second or third round finish. So he has been semi-deepish before, but I do think when you're talking about a guy like this, some note of caution is warranted just because look, the guy hasn't really fought, but I gotta agree with Drake, and I think Jota for the most part that this is going to be a run over. But just that little note, note of caution, I think is worthwhile. All right, next fight up is Michel Pereira at 8,700 taking on Michal Oleksiejczuk at 7,500. Line on this fight, it is Pereira at -140 taking on Oleksiejczuk at +120. And I always liked Oleksiejczuk as a light heavyweight. I think his speed was good. I always liked his power. Speed should only be amplified moving down a weight class now, but Pereira is fast and athletic too, and I think that takes away a lot of what Oleksiejczuk does. And I also think Oleksiejczuk is going to be hesitant of the power here. I'm a little bit concerned that this kind of turns into a little bit of a staring match, to where you may not think it would be, but I think at times, at least, Pereira has sort of throttled back a little too far from the guy who used to moonsault onto opponents and dive off the cage and do whatever, like a lucha libre. He doesn't do that anymore, which is good, but I think maybe he holds back a little too much. And I do think Oleksiejczuk can be a bit of a counter striker at times. So I'm really not looking at this one to target so much. I could see it kind of washing out. But I am picking Pereira just because I think that Oleksiejczuk's best attribute, which is his speed and his athleticism, won't really play here. So I got to go with Pereira. And we're going to kick it to Drake first. Drake, how do you see this fight?
This is my first dog play. I've been a big fan of Oleksiejczuk since he's been in the UFC. He had that down fight against Baralo, when he was taken down, I think it was 3 times or whatever, and controlled on the mat. I don't think he has to worry about that as much in this one, and I'll take him in a striking match against most people. You bring up that it might be a little slower, and I don't disagree with that. But as a dog, he doesn't need to score, outrageous to score well for you. So I'm on the dog here. I do like him, but Pereira is dangerous, so got to play both sides.
Yeah, I agree, and I do like Oleksiejczuk too as a fighter. And 7,500, it almost kind of reminds me of my Joanne Wood play, which is like, hey, this is a fighter I like who can score, and now they're the dog, so take a closer look. But I just think Pereira. I just think the explosiveness is going to be too much in certain spots, at least. Joe, how you see this fight?
Yeah, I think that Lord Michal is going to give Pereira the fight that he wants. Like, he'll come charging in, and Pereira prefers to counterpunch, and he'll be there for the counterpunch. And even though this fight is at middleweight, he's always been a large welterweight anyway. Like, we don't even know how he ever actually made welterweight. So he's looking good at 185. Everybody made weight except for CJ Vergara. So again, he looked pretty good from what I could see. I'm going to go with Pereira here. I don't hate taking a flyer on Michal. I just don't know that even as a dog that he's going to score all that well. He's going to have to, I think, finish him because, neither one of these guys are super high volume strikers. So I really don't see on draft. Now, maybe as a bet, I could see it more as a bet. As a DraftKings play, there are guys that I like in the 7K range that I think not only win the fight, but score well. So that's my only point of concern as it relates to this from a DraftKings perspective. Taking a flyer on him as a wager, I could get behind that, but I'm going to pick Pereira here.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pereira. I mean, I do think there are going to be some big exchanges in this one, and I think Pereira's going to come out on top in those. So I think Oleksiejczuk is going to have to use his stick and move more, which even as a dog could hurt how much offense he can get off. And like you said, Joe, he doesn't really do much besides, like, he's not a wrestler. So he's going to really have to get those strikes up or get the finish. And does he? I don't know. But at 7,500, it's always enticing to take a dog play who's a good fighter overall there. Moving on, we have Ion Cutelaba at 8,400 taking on Philipe Lins at 7,800. The line on this fight, Ion Cutelaba at -120, Philipe Lins at +100. And I'm about to say one of the scariest sentences in all of DFS. I am taking Ion Cutelaba. It's so scary. I mean, he's the prototypical glass cannon. He's going to come out. He's going to look really good for the first round, maybe not even the entire first round, maybe 3 minutes of the first round. He's going to get his strikes. He's going to get his takedowns. If he gets tired or maybe even not so tired, he might just fall into a submission or gas out and then lose the 2 rounds. But Philipe Lins works so slowly. I think the pacing here is just Ion Cutelaba being in control. And how do you gas out when you're in control of the entire fight? I guess if anybody could do it, Cutelaba could, but I think we're going to have to see. And I think the way Cutelaba fights, if he wins here, it's just going to be a lot of points. I know Philipe Lins has 100% takedown defense, never fought a grappler, literally never. I'm not worried about it. I think that the dogged way that he chases his takedowns can pay off. I just hope he doesn't get tired, gas out, and leave us holding the bag, because the way Lins fights, even if that does happen, he's probably not going to score very well, even as the underdog. But I am taking Ion Cutelaba here, and God help us all. Joe, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, I mean, this is like Cutelaba early, Lins late. The guy's going to come out like a bat out of hell, go for a gazillion takedowns, probably get a bunch of them, and then gas out if he doesn't finish Lins. I just think that, I'm going to pick Cutelaba here, but this is like a GPP only fight. Like, do not even think about playing this fight if you're playing cash games. Like, this is a GPP fight. Take a flyer on Cutelaba, take a shot on Lins. I don't think that Lins has quite the ceiling that Cutelaba has if he wins the fight, because I think if he wins it, he's not going to win it early. He's going to win it late. And Cutelaba, if he wins it, he'll win it early. So I think the ceiling is a lot higher for Cutelaba. I don't think either one of these guys really has a great floor. So play it in GPPs, but only play it in GPPs.
I will say that I think Lins is more alive than usual, just because he's going to get an opponent who's going to come right after him. And so if he does catch him, that is something. So maybe a little more Lins than I would of normally, which my normal is 0%, but maybe a little more than that based on the opponent and what he's liable to do. Drake, are you taking the Tasmanian Devil here or the statuesque Philipe Lins?
No, I do not like Lins much at all in any of his fights. It's not a fighter that I care for. I think he's sloppy, and I think he makes a lot of mistakes. And Cutelaba, I mean, his biggest issue is himself and that cardio. So I mean, if he preserves any part of it to get him, through 15 minutes, if it were to get that far, I honestly think that he could be one of the highest scoring guys on the slate. Lins doesn't have takedown defense, so I mean, this could be rinse and repeat the entire time. It could be control time. It could be strikes. You could see a massive score coming out of this guy. But like Joe mentioned, it's definitely GPP.
Yeah, GPP or bust. Every second where Cutelaba doesn't finish, he's gonna be sapping energy, and it's gonna make me bite my lip. But I'm gonna grim and bear it, and I am taking Cutelaba as well. All right, next up we have Philipe Lins threw me out of position. Next up we have it is Kyler Phillips at 9,100 taking on Pedro Munhoz at 7,100. Line on this fight, Kyler Phillips -200, Pedro Munhoz +174. And Yeah, Munhoz just not the kind of guy I think wins this kind of fight against a way more athletic fighter. Kyler Phillips can just dance around him, use his athleticism. Pedro Munhoz is going to try to stand his ground, going to try to throw big shots, going to stand in the pocket, going to try to bait him into a brawl. We know how tough he is. He's probably going to let Kyler Phillips hit him in the hopes that he can counterpunch him. If Pedro Munhoz ever used his wrestling, it would be a different story. He's not going to. Don't look for it. If Kyler Phillips is stupid enough to take him down, we might see something. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think Kyler Phillips just picks him apart. It's going to be a relatively high volume fight because all of Pedro Munhoz's fights are, because he just sort of stands and trades. But I'm seeing this as more of like a cash fight. Like maybe he wins with like 88-93, kind of a wide berth there. But I don't really see this as all that great for GPPs. But my pick is Kyler Phillips, and we'll go with Drake first. Do you see this any different? Do you see any real viability for Pedro Munhoz besides like catching the big shot there?
No, it's pretty much what it is. I think Munhoz has kind of passed his time here, and I don't think it's long before we see him hang up his gloves. Kyler Phillips, you brought up his athleticism, and he's one of those kind of freak athletes where it's just kind of nonstop. He's a little Energizer bunny. So Phillips is one of my favorite plays on the slate. And I don't think that he lost that fight against Raulian Paiva, which is the only loss he's got on his record in the UFC. I think we just see more of what Phillips does best, and that's just pressure, control, pop, and repeat.
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard to see this any other way, but we'll see if Joe surprises us. Joe, who do you got in this fight?
I have Munhoz in this fight.
Do you?
Yeah. In he has 4 fights that have DraftKings salaries, Phillips, and he's only made his salary. He's only earned his salary in points one time. I don't really like him as a DraftKings play. He might have won that fight against Pavia, but he totally gassed out. I think Munhoz is a smart fighter. He beat Gutierrez. I don't think Phillips beats Gutierrez personally. I think Gutierrez just would tear Phillips' legs apart. And I think that Munhoz can do the same thing. I think Munhoz can use the athleticism and aggression against Kyler Phillips here. Now, I don't think this is a big upside fight. I don't like Phillips based on the fact that I don't think he earns 10x in a win, because Munhoz, he's not going to put Munhoz away. I'd be shocked if he actually put Munhoz away. I just don't see him scoring. I think Munhoz has got a pretty solid floor. His ceiling might not be super high, but damn, 7.1K. I mean, he was 6.8K against Gutierrez and he won, right? He was 7.6K against Chito Vera, scored 45 points in a loss, right? He's fought the best of the best. I'm going to go with him here. I'm going to give him a shot. I mean, prove it to me, Phillips. Like, let me see him get a few more fights. Let me see him. If he can finish Munhoz, then I'll have a lot more respect for him as a fighter. But as it stands now, I will be underweight to Phillips because I don't think he's going to score if he wins on DraftKings. I don't see him putting Munhoz away. And I will take a flyer, even though there are dogs that I like more. Let me get that out of the way. There are dogs that I like more. I think Munhoz has got a pretty solid floor, and 7.1K, his cash floor is really solid. So that's the way I'm looking at this fight.
Joe, I was kind of afraid that something may have happened to you there. I'm not sure where that came from. Boars that I like nor. Okay, well, I'm glad you're doing all right.
Thank you.
But I do see what you're saying, because the way Pedro Munhoz is at this point in his career, he's always super cheap, and he's always going to score well in losses because he just stands there and throws and nobody can put him away. But as far as winning, I don't know, it's kind of a hard sell for me. But we will see how that one goes. All right. For now, we're going to move on to the next fight as we move right up the card. And it is Mateusz Gamrot at 9,400 taking on Rafael dos Anjos at 6,800. Line on this fight. Gamrot, a big -400 favorite. Comeback on Dos Anjos +300. And I touched on it a little bit when we were talking before the show. I don't know if you've ever gotten a fighter as good as Rafael dos Anjos for 6,800. Having said that, I don't think he wins the fight, just because he doesn't beat wrestlers. I think the only wrestler he ever beat was Kevin Lee, who's no longer with the company. I mean committed grapplers. We could maybe go way far back, but as far as semi-recent history, he just backs himself to the fence against them, lets them back him to the fence. Can you hear me, guys? Okay, my headphone died. Sorry about that, guys. But so yeah, I think that he's going to get backed up against the fence. He's going to get taken down repeatedly, and could be a rinse and repeat thing. Could be held down, because as good as Rafael dos Anjos is on top, he does not have a good aggressive bottom game, and he can get stuck there. So my pick is Mateusz. I think it has to be. We've seen what wrestlers have done to dos Anjos in the past, and it's too hard to ignore, even at a $1,600 salary, for somebody who I think is still a good fighter, but just not a good matchup for him. So I got to take Gamrot here. Drake, I saw you nod your head. I'm pretty sure you're feeling the same way.
Oh, absolutely. If there was any doubts about Gamrot and his skill, it was all answered in that 5-seed fight. I got nothing else left to add to that. Gamrot should just completely obliterate RDA in this fight, and it sucks too, because I do like RDA. He's a great fighter. He's just he's getting up there in age. He's lost his step, and unfortunately, this is a really bad matchup for him.
Yeah, I agree. Just a bad matchup, and at this point in his career, I think it's too much to ask for him to just change his entire style and start beating these wrestlers now when he has never really done so in the past. So I think this one's pretty safe. Joe, how you seeing this one?
Yeah, the trifecta. I like Gamrot a lot. His only loss in the last 5 years is to Dariush. I'm a little concerned about scoring, but I do think he can get rinse and repeat takedowns, because he's really not as much a control wrestler or a control grappler. He takes people down, and he tends to let them get back up, and that's good for DraftKings, because you get 5 points for a takedown, and you have to control a guy a pretty significant period of time to get 5 points. So rinse and repeat takedowns. If he does that, he will score well. I heard dos Anjos looked really good. I mean, he's been fighting at 170 because the weight cuts have been really hard at 155. So I heard he looked really good on the scales, looked really shredded. I think he is approaching his 40th birthday. Moved his family down to Brazil not too long ago to save some money. Was living in Orange County. I don't know what his training is like, but it seemed like his weight cut was on point. Look, I like dos Anjos. I mean, the 154-point performance against Renato Moicano, my God, that was money. That was really money. But I do like Gamrot quite a bit here. Probably, I'm going to take a quick look here, so bear with me. Probably my favorite play above 9K.
Wow. Yeah. I can see it. It's still kind of hard for me, just because maybe the dos Anjos name, but I mean, then I remember what Colby Covington did to him, and it's like, okay, it's probably going to be big scoring. So I'm going to agree there. I like Gamrot a lot too. Sorry there to the former lightweight champion. Moving on, it is Macy Barber at 8,800, taking on Caitlin Shermanara, formerly Chukagian, blonde fighter, at 7,400. Line on this fight, it is Barber at -205, Shermanara at +170. And I mean, I almost feel weird saying this, because it's almost not even a cash play the way she scores. And I know that she's had a long layoff and blah, 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 but I actually do like Shermanara or Chukagian in this fight. I think this is the kind of fight she wins, where she can just be on her bike, go in and out, strike against sort of somebody who's more heavy on the lead leg there, has always had trouble with range when it comes to striking. And if she tries to lean on her wrestling, not that she would ever use it offensively, God forbid, but Shermanara is, I think, a John Danaher purple belt. So if this does go to the floor, I don't worry about her there. But I do think that this is the kind of fight that she wins. She had that one big score where she decided to wrestle against Antonia Shevchenko's sister, I believe, and then that was it, and it never happened again. So we can't count on that. But if you're into 76-point wins and you're playing a cash game, Terminara just might be for you. But I am giving her the pick here. I do think this is a good matchup for her. Definitely, as Joe likes to say, more of a bet than a DraftKings play. But my pick is Terminara. And we're going to start with Joe here, the much faulted chick whisperer. Joe, how are you seeing this fight?
Okay, so I have not been to date a Maycee Barber truther. I thought she lost against Andrea Lee. I thought she lost against Miranda Maverick. However, with that said, at 7.3K against Amanda Ribas, that is the best Maycee Barber I've ever seen. If that Maycee Barber, that berserker Maycee Barber shows up, she will win this fight. I'm not convinced that we do see that same Maycee Barber, but at 8.8K, I think she's very sneaky. Simply because she seems to be improving and coming together, and that was one hell of a performance at 7.3K. I was surprised how easily she won that fight against Amanda Ribas. So I can't fault people for taking a shot with Caitlin. I don't think that Barber is going to be very popular, which is why I think she could be a good play at 8.8K. And I think if she does to Chookagian what she did to Ribas, who I think and honestly is a better fighter, I would argue that this is a step down for Maycee Barber. I would argue that this is a step down. So I'm going to pick Maycee Barber here, but I've always had issues with Maycee Barber getting her right. I had KGB, I had Maverick. I thought I got screwed out of both those decisions. I had Ribas big against her, and man, did she look good. So I'm going to play Maycee Barber here, but just know that my track record in predicting Maycee Barber fights has not been good. But I do believe, honestly, that if that same Barber shows up who faced Amanda Ribas at 7.3K, it's going to be a tough night for Caitlin.
Yeah, that could be true. We've seen the perils of going too heavy on a fighter after one good fight. Mackenzie Dern, say hello. So I think there definitely is some worry there, but I just think Terminara is too polished in her boring, ridiculous game that she likes to play, and I think that it's going to pay some dividends here. Not a whole lot of dividends, but maybe just enough if you're playing a cash game. Drake, how do you see this fight?
Give me the future all day. Maycee Barber destroyed Ribas in that fight, and I was against her in that one as well. And man, Joe just nailed it on the head. She looked phenomenal. She looks even 3/4 as good as she did in that fight. This is going to be a cakewalk for her. I don't see her having any problem with the range because she just knows how to get into the pocket. So I like Barber a lot in this fight, especially at her price. And like Joe said, I do think she goes on her own, so it's a sneaky play.
Yeah, no, it could be. I've always do like the pay up contrarians. I think there is a lot of merit and value in there. Just not sure that this is the one to do it. But like you guys said, if it is that performance, could definitely be something there. But right now we are going to move on to the next fight. It is well, I guess I'll go. This is pretty much a pick'em, so I will go Curtis Blades first at 8,200, taking on Jelton Almeida at 8,000. Line on this fight similarly close, of course. It is maybe not so much as you would think. Actually, it is. I'm not sure if it changed. Jelton Almeida at -120, Curtis Blades at +100, and I just have to go with Curtis Blades here. First of all, I just think Jelton. I don't want to say he's fought nobody. He did fight Derek Lewis. That is a big-ish fight in the heavyweight division, but he was also sitting in mount on Derek Lewis without knowing how to finish him. And there were times there where Derek Lewis was getting the upper hand, and if he hadn't gone for takedowns himself for some reason, or sort of try to strike while he was defending, that could have been a very different fight. Blades' striking is improving all the time. Of course, I don't think that's what's going to carry this fight. I think Blades is going to out-grapple him. We know that Jailton Almeida likes to grapple, and we have never seen anybody out-grapple Curtis Blades in the octagon, and I'm not going to bet it here. I'm really not, especially since we've seen Jailton Almeida get tired. We've seen Blades get tired also, but I think I'm gonna bet on the Blades takedown defense a little bit high, a little bit more than Jailton in this spot. So my pick is Curtis Blades. Drake, we'll start with you. How you seeing this one?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it beforehand. I am opposite. I do have Almeida, but it's not like an overly competent pick. This is obviously the toughest fight that he's had, and it really is going to come down to who can control who. And if Blades gets on top of him, Almeida is we all know that he's got like superhuman strength. It's kind of ridiculous. But Blades just that suffocating control with those elbows and everything. I mean, it could cause a lot of trouble for Almeida if he's not, prepared or ready for it. But I actually think that we're going to see more of a striking in this one, and I'm going to go Almeida by knockout. Blades has been knocked out 4 times, so.
Yeah, it's true, and we know Almeida has power, even though he doesn't generally like to go that way. Joe, how do you see this one?
Yeah, this is such an intriguing fight. I mean, been burned by Blades on numerous occasions, unfortunately. But I do, if this is, predominantly a wrestling / grappling match, I think I like to see Blades as the better wrestler here. Also, he should have the body weight and the technique to match Almeida, who is more just a brute force strength guy. I'm sure I didn't see the formal weigh-ins, but I'm sure that Blades probably came in at 266, where Almeida was 230 max, maybe. I don't know. He is a light heavyweight that for some reason is fighting as heavyweight. He could be a champion at 205 instead of dicking around at heavyweight. So I'm going to go with Blades here, but it's very cautious because we've been burned before, and now there's actually line value on Almeida, which I think is going to make him pretty popular. Let's see where the current line is. I have DraftKings open right now. It has Almeida at minus 118 and Blades at minus 102. So there you go. That's what it's at right now. Almeida's plus 3.5, minus 165, if you want to play it that way. But I'm going to take Blades.
Yeah, the weight thing is interesting too. If anything, riding Curtis Blades with him in top position there could be something as well. So that is a very interesting fight. I think the hype train goes away to the post-fight hype train, but we shall see. And right now, though, before we move on to the main card, we are going to take a quick break for our podcast-only listeners, and we may have a special guest coming up after the break. So stay tuned for that, folks. But right now, just enjoy the silence, and we'll be right back. Okay, and we are back. And for right now, we are going to move along with the main card. It is Petr Yan at 8,300 taking on Yadong Song at 7,900. Line on this fight. Where are we? It is Petr Yan at minus 128. Yadong Song at plus 108. And I was talking like this for Alexander Volkanovski and it burned me, but I'm going to go back to it for Petr Yan because I don't know what the disrespect is. He lost to the leading lights of the division. So what? No one's beaten Merab anyway. I just think he's a way too clever puncher for Yadong Song, who likes to get into brawls. Too big of a counter puncher, above average grappler. There's just too much here. And I am actually going to kick it over. But before I do that, I did want to say hello. I did a teaser because I'm in the industry now, of a special guest before the break of the podcast, listeners. And we have him. It's the mystery guest.
Hey,
Mr. Joey T. How we doing?
I'm doing good, man. How everyone doing tonight?
Whoa! I knew nothing about this, guys.
I know.
Jersey in the house.
Yes,
I tried to keep it. I tried to keep it from Drake, but I guess you guys talk to each other. So that
Look, he's got the Philly hat. He's rocking the guinea tee. Look at that, man. that is Jersey personified, man.
Yes, sir. Fly Eagles fly.
Wow, look at that. Oh my God.
Nice. Yeah,
and for people that don't realize that South New Jersey, they migrate more towards Philly teams as opposed to like Central and North New Jersey, which are more New York teams based. So it should not be a surprise to anyone that he's rocking a Phillies cap and actually went as far as got a tattoo of the Eagles. So really cool. Nice special guest. We going to have him break down this fight?
We are going to have him break down this fight. We actually can go to him right now. Let's give him the honor. Joey, how do you see us kicking off the main card here with Petr Yan and Yadong Song?
I am very curious on this fight. Song did come out and said that he believes he is the better striker in this fight and he can win a boxing range fight. For the love of God, I think if Uriah Faber is smart, he's not going to allow Song to do it. Because if you do, I think Yan is going to absolutely light him up like a Christmas tree and even give him rounds of seconds of it. So they're probably going to mix in some grappling, some takedowns, attempts. But I think Yan, people keep sleeping on Yan because his 1-4 pass record. And I think this could be a reminder of, hey, Song, you have looked good. You're a good young prospect. You still have a bright future. But I still think there's firm levels in this game. And I think Yan's going to outpoint him for decision.
You read my mind, sir. I think too many people are going away from Yan, and they shouldn't. This is the time to come back. 8,300. I promise you, after this fight, you're not going to get him at this price again. So take advantage of it, and let's see if the podcast boys agree with each other. Drake, how you see this fight?
Yan's my boy. I'm not going against him.
All right.
I still think that Petr Yan is one of the top fighters in the division. There's really no doubting that. Obviously, Moroz is just a machine, literally. This is no shame in losing that. He's gonna have the belt real soon, and losing a fight that he didn't actually lose to O'Malley is it is what it is. But Giannis, he's still one of the smartest fighters out there. I fully believe that Song is going to find himself in a world of hurt when he tries to pressure forward. Yan should be better everywhere. He should be the better striker, wrestler, and grappler in this fight. So I love Yan in this fight, especially at his price on DK, and I love him for any type of bet.
Yeah, I agree. Heavy on Yan, heavy. But let's see if we can make it all four of us for the first time ever. Joe, what do you think of this fight?
Yeah, this line is a gift, -120. I have Yan as the first leg of my 3-leg parlay. I don't get it. -120. I can only assume that the person that set this line has a substance abuse problem of some sort, because I don't understand this at all. This should be much wider. Look, Song Yadong is not a bad fighter, but I think we know what his ceiling is in terms of competition. And honestly, I think he's probably gotten as much as he can out of alpha male, and could probably benefit from a different team, but that's neither here nor there. I like Petr Yan a lot here. I'd be very surprised if he lost this. I think he really has to be feeling the pressure that he needs a win. So I think Yadong is still in the UFC if he loses, and I'm not suggesting that the UFC would cut Petr Yan off a loss, but man, his record's going to look pretty hard if he loses this fight. So give me all the Petr Yan.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm glad to see it's unanimous. And Joe, I'm glad. Nobody likes Yadong here, which I think is unfortunate.
He brought
Yadong could be, could look nice on certain things, but no Yadong for anybody on the stream here.
You saw what Young did, right? He came out with the blonde hair in this fight.
I did, yeah, no, I did. Think the drip was there. I did, but otherwise, I don't think it's going to help him too much, unfortunately. No. But we will move on to the next fight down the main card. It is Jack Della Maddalena at 8,600 taking on Gilbert Burns at 7,600. I have to believe that Burns is going to be a popular dog here, and I'm going to join in the chorus. Della Maddalena, we saw him. Now, it took him 20 attempts, granted, but Basil Hafez, 6 minutes and 48 seconds of control time in that fight against Della Maddalena. They were both dead tired by the end of it. I just don't see how Gilbert Burns needs more than one takedown if a non-MMA grappler, certainly as experienced as Gilbert Burns, can do that to him, can accrue all that control time. Burns, one of the best MMA grapplers in the business at the moment. You could argue the best, especially at the heavier weight classes here. I just think Della Maddalena is, he's a good puncher. He's a good boxer, of course. This narrative was starting to float around that Gilbert Burns is chinny. I'm not sure where that comes from. He got flash knocked out by Hooker at a different weight class, and he's been pretty good since then. So I'm gonna ride with him here. I think this is a hype train blow up. Gilbert Burns is a very good fighter. If people are discounting him because of that Bilal Muhammad fight, first of all, I mean, you can say, was he really hurt? Was he not? I don't know. But it's a much different fight in any case. Bilal Muhammad, notoriously good at defending takedowns. And Jack Della Maddalena, once he has a bottom game, once he gets to the bottom, I should say, I don't think he's got much of a game there. So I got to take Gilbert Burns here. I think 7,600 is way too good to pass up on. But we'll see how that goes. And we're going to talk to Joe, who I think is kindred spirit on this one. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, so I love Petr Yan, but with respect to the odds, this is my favorite play on the whole slate. My favorite bet is Gilbert Burns plus 140. Is the next leg of my parlay? I already gave you Yan. This is the second leg of my parlay here. 7.6K. This fight should be a pick'em. Maybe even Burns is a small favorite. I honestly don't believe he's even at that big a disadvantage when it comes to striking. Obviously, the grappling wrestling is really superior to Maddalena. Burns has fought better competition. I was at the fight against Bilal in New Jersey, courtesy of DraftKings. Thank you. He did not look himself in that fight. So I just love Burns here. Plus 140. Give me all of it I can get. I'm going to be betting it heavily. I'm going to be using them in DraftKings at 7.6K. I'm not going to have much Jack Maddalena. I'm willing to fall on my sword. If Maddalena somehow could spark Burns and score a lot of points, it's not going to be a very good slate for me. I'll be pretty sad on many levels, but I'll take all the Burns I could get here, and I just love him at plus 140.
I like him very much as well, but does Drake love him? Let's find out. Drake, how do you think of this fight?
No, you guys are all going to look really dumb when Maddalena knocks his ass out. Just so you know. So you're going to pour all your money in the drain. Yeah, I fully expect Burns to go for the takedown, and yeah, he could obviously get it, but I think that what Maddalena, I mean, like Hafez, it was 3 for 20. Yeah, okay, it's he didn't do a whole lot, before coming into the UFC. So his takedown defense prior to that, I mean, it's been really good. He hasn't fought a grappler like Burns, but you got to know and expect him to be fully prepared that that's what Burns is going to do. I think we might be looking, at the downfall of Burns in this fight. I think he's going to fall flat on his face.
Well, I just need to tell everybody that I was saying Boo Earns, okay? I was saying Boo Earns, and we will just leave it at that. And we will go to Joey to cap us off. How do you see this fight?
So, honestly, I think this fight is going to be a good one. I honestly think if the line's there, the over 1.5 is not a bad play. I think if Burns does get a takedown, I think Jack Della is going to be more secure about it in this fight because originally he wasn't even supposed to fight Basil. And Basil took this fight on short notice, and I don't think Jack Della was preparing for a grappler and wrestler of a sort of Basil. And yes, Burns is the better grappler, but I don't think his wrestling is up to what Basil's wrestling is. It's pure strength wrestling takedowns. I think they both had their moments, but I am going Jack Della. But I'm leaning more of a decision.
Wow. And
2-2.
Drake, as far as throwing my money down the drain, it would not be the first time, my friend. So I am ready for it. But we will go to all the way down the main card here. We are inching closer to the main event. It is now the debut of MVP. It is Kevin Holland at 8,500 taking on Michael Venom Page at 7,700. The line on this fight is Kevin Holland at minus 130. Michael Venom Page plus 110. And, Michael Venom Page, a dynamic fighter, dynamic knockouts, athletic, awkward, all that stuff. We've seen conditions available for him to have really boring fights. I think this might be one of them, sneakily. I think, he's not going to have advantages here. He's not going to have a reach advantage. He's not going to have a big height advantage. And he's not going to have a big athleticism advantage. And that's usually what he takes advantage of in fights. And so I just think it's going to make him hesitant. And on the other side, I think the awkward movement and stance of Holland or Page is going to make Holland hesitant. So I really think that this one could just be a lot of staring in the mirror with some exchanges and some leg kicks. I'm going to give it to Kevin Holland just because I think the work rate is going to be there. And I think that's going to carry it home. But for me, and I wonder if this will be a popular decision or not, I think that this one has a danger of washing out. And I think with two action fighters, most people aren't going to think that way and maybe roster it. I'm going to stay largely away from this one. I'll have some shares, but I really think this could be a staring contest for a lot of it. I think this goes to a decision, and I'm not really up for, especially if I think the favorite's going to win, which I do. I am picking Kevin Holland, but this is not one of my favorite DraftKings plays, to say the least. And I think we're going to start. There's four of us now, so I'm really losing my place. But I think we're going to start with Joe. Joe, how are you seeing this one?
Okay, so Kevin Holland is the final leg of my three-fighter parlay here. This is a really curious signing by the UFC. 36-year-old Michael Venom Page coming off of a bare-knuckle loss to Mike Perry. Although people argue that was, that could have gone either way. Karate fighter, great career in Bellator, but who has he really fought? I mean, Douglas Lima. I mean, so I don't understand. Like I'm sure they're paying this guy. They paid up to get him, and they're putting him in a match that is not really very good for him. Now, Kevin Holland is a bit of a flake, so he could, you don't know which Kevin Holland you're going to get, but just skill on skill, this should be a pretty easy fight for Kevin Holland. So I like him at minus 135. I think he's a sneaky play on DraftKings, although I really like him as a bet. So, because to your point, Chris, this could be kind of a low output type of, grindy fight. So I don't know how it's going to score, but, give me Kevin Holland at minus 135.
Yeah, I like Holland too. Mike Venom Page, unless he really has tons of advantages where he can just take control of his opponents. A lot of his knockouts are like one strike finishes, which doesn't really happen to Kevin Holland. Or, like I said, he's just going to sort of stare in the mirror. What we can reliably assume is that Kevin Holland will not wrestle. So we know that much, even though he should probably, but he won't. And that would make it a more intriguing DraftKings play too. But nevertheless, we are going to go, I believe, to Joe here, and then we're going to have Drake finish it off. But Joe, how are you seeing this fight?
So I'm honestly seeing this fight. It's almost like a stalling fight.
Yeah.
Both guys are more showboatish to an extent. Most of Venom Page's knockouts are when it's actually how we're describing the fight, very slow, very slow. And then when the opponent jumps in, he just hits with the most absolute sniper shot. Like, I forget what fight it was, but I remember they said he fractured an opponent's skull. One fight, he actually broke a guy's nose in half in the middle with a spinning kick. So all it may take from Venom Page is one flashy shot, but do I really see Holland potentially falling for that? No, not more than likely, but I got Holland just slightly. I want to pick Venom Page because in Bellator he was exciting as hell, but I got to go Holland. I just think Holland's going to be a little bit more active and more play the safe approach.
That was Evangelista Cyborg, who's had Christine Cyborg's ex-husband. That's whose head totally shattered.
Whew.
Yeah,
It was filthy.
and that was a fight. He had lost the first round. He basically got grappled by Cyborg there, and then did his little Pokemon celebration at the end. Drake, how do you see this one? I have a feeling it's unanimous.
And it is. I can't wait for MVP to be shown as a fraud. I think Holland's better everywhere. I think he just. Well, one of the things that bothers me the most is that both of them like to run their mouths, and Paige came out and said it's going to be like a podcast in there. So I got no interest in this for DFS, but betting wise, Holland all day.
Right. I did not hear that, but if it's anything like, I don't know if you guys remember Kevin Holland's Contender Series fight where they didn't give him the contract because they didn't like where he was doing more talking than fighting. If it's that, then I might shut it off and rejoin the telecast at another time. But I agree, Kevin Holland. But a couple GPP shots, of course, because they both have knockout power. But not. I don't think anybody's favorite idea of a high-scoring DFS fight. But having said that, let's go now to the co-main event of the evening. It is Benoit Saint-Denis. I almost said Poirier's name first because I'm not used to seeing him being a big underdog. But it is Benoit Saint-Denis at 8,900 taking on Dustin the Dying Poirier at 7,300. Line on this fight. It is. I almost did it again. It is at -205 and Poirier at +175. And I think that line is pretty accurate. Poirier is kind of the same as RDA with wrestlers, where he backs himself against the cage and gets taken down. We saw him get backed up against the cage a lot against Dan Hooker, who's not even a grappler, but just really spent the entire fight backed up against the fence. That was one of the reasons why I had picked against him in the second Conor fight. As it turned out, Conor couldn't check a leg kick. I don't think that's going to be a problem for Saint-Denis. I think Saint-Denis just walks through everything. We know how tough he is. We know he can take a beating. And we know that Dustin Poirier can be taken down. And I think that's just what's going to happen here. I mean, Dustin Poirier is a black belt. Not all black belts are created equally, as we know, especially in MMA grappling. We've seen Poirier get out-grappled many times. I think that's just going to be another spot of it. I really like Saint-Denis at this price, under 9,000. Just how aggressive he is in grappling and how he's never going to stop. I mean, 105, 110 points at this salary, which is very attainable, is just fantastic for your DraftKings lineup. And that's where I'm going here. I'm big on Saint-Denis here. Poirier is a decent boxer, but has never been the biggest puncher. And so I really just don't think he's going to have too much for Saint-Denis in this spot. If he gets caught in a scramble in a submission, so be it. But I have to go with Saint-Denis here. And I believe we're going to start this time with Drake. Drake, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, I'm all over, BSD. It sucks going against Poirier. I've always been a big fan of him. He's on, we're approaching, kind of the end of an era with all the guys we've watched for the last 10, 15, whatever years.
Yeah.
Get to the point of retirement. So it sucks to see it, but Saint-Denis, man, he's such a complete athlete, a complete fighter. He's got everything. He's got all the tools to be successful. He's got power, grappling, wrestling. He's got it all. So I mean, it's he is one of my favorite plays on the slate for when it comes to DFS. This could be one of those, rinse and repeat takedowns. It could be, a knockout in the first round, which would be really unfortunate. But I'm not sure how many ways Poirier has to win this fight. So I really like BSD in this one.
Yeah, I agree. I really think one way to go here. I don't see a ton of paths to victory for our friend Dustin here. Joe, what about you? How do you see the co-main event?
Look, I'm probably not as high on him winning. Well, I shouldn't say that. I don't see that Poirier is totally washed. With that said, you got Saint-Denis, young aggressive fighter, has only lost to Chris Gutierrez, who beat the living shit out of him. It was interesting. I don't know if you guys saw that photo online about with the that looks like he has staff. BSD, yeah. It looks like
Oh,
he
yeah,
has
the hole in his head. Yeah,
it
yeah,
looks
yeah.
like he has staph. I don't know what's going on there. Oh man, I'd love to pick Poirier at 6.9K as a dog. I will probably have a few shares of him in DraftKings just in case. But I have to agree with you guys. Officially, I'll pick Saint Denis. I'm not sure how much I'll have in DraftKings. Priced attractively, I guess. Not, I don't know. I'll pick Saint Denis. I'll have a few shares of Poirier at 6.9K because there might be some magic left there. And if that's the case, this is probably the, again, at least on paper, a much easier fight than Justin Gaethje. So give me a BSD here, and let me root for Dustin.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to play it. Let's round it out here. Joey, how you seeing the co-main?
So one thing I told Drake, and it was right after the Gaethje fight, I was like, depending on who Poirier fights, usually if you got regularly TKO'd and the ref stepped in, but you're fine, okay, it's okay. But he got flatlined by a head kick. And usually I have a sign of concern when you get knocked out in that type of way. We'll see how your overall durability carries over for your next future fight and plenty more to come. I think there's a chance that Saint Denis might absolutely flatline him. I think he might overcrowd him with combinations, and all it takes is one. And we may see a face down plant similar to how Chandler did to Tony Ferguson. I hope I'm wrong because I love Dustin Poirier, but I can't trust someone's durability going forward like that as soon as they got flatlined. And then somehow still coming back not much too sooner, even after that fight. So that's going to be a big concern, and I think St. Denis is probably going to be one of my favorite plays.
It is a possibility. I mean, even before that, I mentioned Dan Hooker, but the round before in the Chandler fight, backed up against the fence, really taking big shots. He has a tendency to do that, which I do not like, which opens up to strikes and wrestling. And I just don't like the whole package. And I'm going to agree that St. Denis is one of the favorite plays for me as well. But right now, we're going to go to the main event. It is Sugar Sean O'Malley defending his bantamweight title for the first time against Marlon Vera at 7,000. A rematch of the only man to ever beat him in professional MMA. Line on this fight, Sean O'Malley is the considerable favorite at minus 250. Marlon Vera at plus 210. And foot drops aside, foot drops can happen. But if a foot drop does not happen, I don't see how Chito Vera wins this fight. He has always been the slow starter. He's never corrected it. He's gotten better at points, but then in certain fights, he falls right back into it again. Significant strikes absorbed for him over 5.2 is just not a good recipe against somebody as a dynamic striker as Sugar Sean O'Malley, and especially he's gotten better at checking the leg kicks. I mean, I think he was kind of full of shit in the Munhoz fight where he said, I checked all of them. He didn't check all of them. He checked quite a few of them, and he was dealing with them a lot better too. He wasn't, they weren't taking him out of position. He wasn't, favoring the leg, at least not that we could see during the fight. And I just can't rely on a foot drop. I'm just not going to do it. And I think O'Malley, whatever you think of him as, whatever personality he's trying to cultivate, I don't really know. It's a little bit weird. But whatever that is, he's still a good dynamic fighter, and he's only gotten better, and he continues to get better. And I think you have to take him here. So my main event, especially over 5 rounds, is Sean O'Malley in a very big way. And we're going to cap this off. We're actually going to go to our guest to kick off the main event. Joey, how do you see it with Sean O'Malley and Chito Vera?
So as you said, in any type of sort of an ankle injury could always happen, but I do got O'Malley. But my only concern is we know that later on Chito does tend to pick up tendencies in fights. And once he does pick it up, he does get into a little rhythm and roll. I honestly think the beginning stages of the fight, Sean may not get too aggressive. I think he's going to see what Chito does, and he might try to, kick him, throw simple jabs. This might be a low-scoring fight. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much. I even told Drake about it earlier. He thinks I'm crazy for thinking that way, but I just think that Sean O'Malley's going to get a little bit defensive. They're going to see how Vera gets. I think, O'Malley's still going to throw his simple 1-2s, maybe not do so much damage, but just have decent volume. But when Vera picks it up, he could get to a rhythm. But I just think this fight's going to go to decision. Maybe more of a dog or pass fight for me personally, but I am picking O'Malley.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that it might go to a decision just because how tough Cheeto is, but I think there's going to be a lot of offense packed in there. You think about even in the fights he wins. I go back to that Rob Font fight. I don't remember how much he scored exactly, but it was a big number. Was it close to 100? I don't want to. Let me see here. What did Rob Font score? Rob Font. Well, I'm looking at Vera, so I don't know, but I believe he scored close to 100. Somebody can verify that if you feel like it, or don't. It doesn't matter. But either way, I think that there's going to be a lot of strikes thrown and landed. Vera's tough, and his defense isn't great, and he's very passive, which is a very bad recipe, I think, against Sean O'Malley. So I'm on him pretty heavy here, to be honest. But what about Drake? I saw Drake shaking his head. Was that the wind, or did he have a stronger opinion? Drake, what do you think?
I have a much different opinion, and this is going to be a bit of a hot take for you, and I think it's absolutely possible here. I honestly believe that Sean O'Malley makes Marlon Vera look like Chris Motino in this fight.
Wow.
I think he just pieces him up over and over, because the whole reason that he lost that first fight was that, whatever, he got injured, whatever, he's checking his kicks better. That's all he's got to do to win this fight. I think he just lays into him every round. I think it does go to a decision, and I think we see another 200 plus strikes out of O'Malley.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is the strike bank is open, and O'Malley is going to make several withdrawals. That's just how I see it. Joe, we will end it off with you for the fight card. How do you see the main event?
Well, I'm going to stay with the pick that I made earlier actually not really so much earlier in the week because I missed the first email from Jake. But I picked Vera, and I'm going to stay with that pick. I think, Vera could take over late here. This is a very lukewarm pick. It's not like a run to the bank pick. I don't even know if I'm going to bet this fight. If I do bet it, it will be because I have some money from my prior bets. Look, I could see it both Joey's way and Drake's way. It would not surprise me either way how this fight finished. Like, O'Malley puts on a show, or, Vera's able to slow it down. He has his typical slow first round, maybe first 2 rounds, gets stronger as the fight goes on, and then maybe takes over a little bit. So I'm not really sure what to expect and how this is going to play out. Honestly, this is not my favorite fight on the slate. It's probably down to 6th or 7th. There are probably 6 or 7 other fights I'd rather watch compared to this fight. I'm not sure, other than the fact that it's a redemption fight for O'Malley. I don't know that it makes that much sense, in all honesty. So yeah, I'll stay with my pick of Vera. It'll be 3-1. You guys against me for Vera, but it's very lukewarm.
All right, we'll take it. We like the diversity here, certainly. I expect a lukewarm reaction from you if Vera wins. Then, so let's just keep it even keel. Is I think what we're asking here.
Fair enough.
That is the fight card. Thank you all so much. Now we are going to move into hot takes. If you are new to the show, we find parlays, any kind of plays, any kind of bets that we think the lines people are taking for granted. We say it as something that we are going to bet or might bet that we think has a decent chance of coming in. So if you have them, put them in chat, and we will. I'll put them up here. I have the capacity to do that. In the meantime, fellas, does anybody have a hot take ready?
Well, since I gave you my hot take, and it seems like I have the ability to move lines here. Gilbert Burns just dropped from +140 to +130.
Wow.
So my hot take was Burns, Jan, and Holland in a parlay, but also go Burns Jan, which is going to pay. Now it's paying plus 300 or plus 314. Then going Burns Jan Holland, which is going to pay plus 620. So that's my hot take. It's not a super hot take, but I like Burns and 2 small favorites. Put the 3 of them together, you're getting 6 plus 6 to 1. So bet what you need to win 1,000. Have a happy holiday. By holiday, I mean St. Patrick's Day.
Will has 2 for us. I think they're related. It's Cheeto round 4, and then also club and sub. So there you go on that. Cuddles Knickerbocker says Jan by decision, and also that it's the fight of the night. I'm not sure if there are actual lines for that, but that would be interesting.
Some places I saw had numbers up for
fight of the night.
Yeah, or who's going to win the bonuses. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've seen it on DraftKings though.
Yeah, definitely not on DraftKings. I have not. Guys, keep that coming in the chat if you have them. In the meantime, anybody else with a hot take in here, gentlemen?
So I know there's one fight that I know once I saw it, me and Drake were talking on it for months. I was asking for it for a long time. It's Blades and Almeida. And I kept telling him that I want to see Blades go Almeida, because if Almeida can get past Blades, then to me right now, Blades is probably one of the secure gatekeepers to really get the potential big shot at a title. And for the longest time, I think Drake thinks I was going to go Blades. But everything that I'm seeing from Almeida, I'm sorry, like, if you're going to bet this guy by any means, just play his pure inside the distance prop, because there's a chance he could KO him on the ground, maybe with ground and pound, or as you see him by Blades, sometimes he gets taken down by randoms. And some wrestlers, once taken down, do not like being on their back. So there's times where they get urgent, and I could easily see Almeida jump the back and even submit him.
Wow. I wonder what that pays. Does anybody have it? Almeida by submission? Let me see. Let's see. Almeida. Oh, wait.
I'm afraid if I try to go find it, I might get kicked off the show.
That's all right.
So on plus 300.
Plus 300. Honestly, I would have thought it was a little bigger than that, but I'll still take that. That's definitely hot enough.
So if you want to sprinkle that, there's another prop I do like. I think if Almabaev gets Vergara down flat once, he's also going to submit Vergara. So if you want to parlay Almabaev by sub with Almeida by sub, you can probably get some nice odds for a 2-legger.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure that would be good. And I could see both. I wouldn't be very happy if the Almeida thing happened. Wouldn't be a good night for me, but I could definitely see it. Let's see. Drake, you have a hot take for us?
Just got a little 2-legger. It's Gamrot and BSD to win inside the distance. Plus 500.
Ooh, like it.
Wait, both of them to win inside the distance?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, I see you.
Nice, yeah.
That's a nice. Okay, plus 500.
And I have 2 women underdogs. I think are both coming through. It's Joanne Wood and the blonde fighter Caitlin, formerly Chukagian, now Chimanara. Both of them winning anyway. Plus 667 on the line. Winning anyway.
Both of them losing too.
So what we all really want to know, Chris, are you going to go to the Atlantic City event?
Maybe. When is that?
March 30th.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I sit up in the if you can get us seats with your DraftKings guy, maybe we'll go, Joe.
Joey, you're going, right?
Yeah, I already got tickets. My section 104.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
That's going to be a good seat.
Yeah, good. Yeah, maybe.
You guys can fly me out there, and I'll go with you.
Yeah. You see,
I got a room.
Yeah, I got a room at the Borgata. I got they comp me a room, but like I haven't gotten tickets yet. I mean, I'm, unless I get really good seats, I just assume like go to a watch party somewhere. I don't know if any of the casinos.
Maybe Ocean. I know Ocean likes to put the fights out.
Yeah, so maybe I don't know. I'll have to decide. It'll be a game time decision. I got the room locked up. I don't have to cancel it until Thursday. Because I got a room for Friday and Saturday. So, and it's for me, it's like about a 2.5 hour drive from Oakland. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know what your price range you're spending, but I think for the 104 section, I only paid $250 for the ticket.
That's not bad at all. That's not bad at all. I mean, I could even probably convince DraftKings to buy that ticket for me if it's only $250. It's just like I kind of like to save my powder with like they sent me to Sydney last year, so you know, that used up a lot of goodwill. So I need to kind of sit back a bit and like wait for something where they get a luxury suite or something, you know. And there is no suite in Boardwalk Hall, you know. So we'll see how it goes. So if anyone is going, you know, reach out to us and let us know, and you know, kind of make it a habit to say hi and maybe get a group together. And you know, maybe like I was always thinking about maybe doing like a breakfast on Saturday morning if people are coming in Friday night. Anybody who's in already Friday night, maybe we meet up and have breakfast somewhere on Saturday morning. So try to put that together over the course of the next few weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds good. All right. I think that is going to do it for us. I want to thank, of course, our usual panelists, Sun Tzu and Drake, and also our very special guest for the main card, Joey T. Of course, you guys know Joey T and Drake. Guys, you want to plug your little podcast there?
Yeah, so it's time UFC picks on YouTube. We didn't get a show off for this week, mainly due to my sickness because I'm just not feeling well. Toughed it out for this one, but it's pretty much bedtime now. But yeah, you can find us on there, and hopefully, you know, I'm looking into trying to get something on Spotify here in the future.
Yeah, that's a Wisconsin cold, by the way, which is much different from like an East Coast, West Coast kind of cold. You know, that's like a Midwest chill your bones.
Yeah,
kind of cold, like you got to drink fluids and kind of put a cover on, turn out the lights, and just like watch The Tourist on Netflix. You know,
nailed it.
Like you got to do something like that, man. So.
Joey, what about anything you want to plug yourself? Anything you're doing, or
also, I'll be on Pub Sports for the entire card.
Oh wow!
Yeah, they invite me on and off for Fight Night card, and I got the invite to stay on there live for the entire pay-per-view. So.
Very cool.
Start of the card starting at 6 p.m. at Pub Sports.
Enjoy.
All right. Yeah. No, sounds good. Joseph, what are we doing? Anything to plug?
No, man. I'm just, you know, I'm on Twitter at Sun Tzu. It's my only form of social media. I don't do anything pretty much else. You know, I'm trying to win. I'm playing the late NBA slate in the hopes that I could win some DraftKings tickets for you know, so like just, you know, kind of wish me well on that. I've been getting my ass kicked in NBA. So we'll see how that all goes. So I could win a couple tickets for the 555, maybe win a few NFT packs to play Rainmakers. But we'll see how that all goes. Other than that, man, just, you know, on Twitter at Sun Tzu.
Absolutely. Yes. And I am on Twitter at the onlyest one. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Give us a like, give us a thumbs up, join the RotoWire MMA YouTube channel. All that helps a great deal. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you on the next pay-per-view.
Peace.